Trump is more vulnerable than people think he is, and folks are really starting to get excited about how Newsom is sort of slinging mud Trump style. I'm Kasky from Bulwark. I'm joined today by my friend of the channel, Lakshya Jain. What's going on, man? Like, Newsom's kind of freaking out, posting some Jack Schlossberg type stuff. Do you think this is effective?
So, as one of the people who always says Twitter is not real life, etc., you're going to probably be surprised to hear me say, yeah, it's actually pretty effective. And here's why. For 8 years, the Democratic Party has fundraised off the backs of this type of thing, but then they've done nothing about it, right? Like, the Democratic Party for 8 years has said, we will fight Trump with everything we have. We will, beat him. We will make sure that we use your dollars to protect voting rights, to protect democracy, to make sure he doesn't come back. And then what do they do when he's back? They pass a CR, right? They say, let's work with him. Let's make sure that we lay low and let him take the damage so that then we can surge. All of this makes perfect mathematical sense, and it makes like theoretical sense. Like, if you look at political science, this is how movements tend to surge. They just let the incumbent commit seppuku and damage himself. But the problem is you run into the issue of reality.
Trump valiantly just drives a katana through his chest out of shame.
No, literally. Like, this is what a lot of people in political movements do. They're like, well, the incumbent is taking all the press. He's going to damage himself. Then we'll surge. But the problem with this is you run into the issue of reality, right? Like, you can't tell 70 million people that we're going to fight for you with everything we have, and then in the same breath say we're going to pass a CR. So what Newsom is doing is different, because Newsom is actually saying, all right, you want to fight? I'll give you a fight. I'm going to fight him. I'm going to draw out his members from Congress. I'm going to give you more seats, which is more than any of these guys are doing. And I'm going to beat him at his own game because I'm a better troll than he is. And people love that. People lap it up because they've been wishing for a fight.
And the Republicans are definitely having kind of the exact response Newsom wanted. Let's take a look at Fox News reacting to Newsom-Trump.
Gavin Newsom is in on the act now, firing back at Trump about the redistricting. On X last night, Donald Trump, you see all the caps, right? Do you notice the style? You see what's going on here, right? Donald Trump, the lowest polling president in recent history. This is your second to last warning. The next one is the last one. Stand down now or California will counterstrike legally to destroy your illegal crooked maps in red states. Press conference coming, hosted by America's favorite governor, Gavin Newsom. Final warning next. You won't like it. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
So yeah, they are taking the bait. They are doing exactly what Team Newsom wants them to do. But my whole thing here is, like, you were talking about how Trump is more vulnerable than people think, and that voters are actually more upset about what he's doing than certain people are giving them credit for. And my question is, like, can Newsom right now, with all of this attention, actually exploit Trump's weaknesses, or is this all sort of just a PR tour for him?
This is the thing. I live in California. I have been front and center to the Gavin Newsom experience over the last 8 years. And your question has two different answers, because if you look at Newsom's electoral record, he doesn't win by as much as you should in California. He's a left-wing boogeyman for a lot of Republicans here. They hate him. Even independents don't love him. So it's hard to think that a guy like that could be the vanguard of the resistance and, like, be the popular face turning public opinion against Trump. But I will say this. When Newsom tries, he's one of the most talented politicians I've ever seen in my life. I said this in 2021. I said this today. Gavin Newsom is an incredibly good and talented politician when it comes to doing what's best for Gavin Newsom. And he wants to run for president. There is nothing that would raise his star for a Democratic primary quite like doing substantive things to defend democracy, to beat Donald Trump at his own game, to troll him back, to draw out his own members. So I think the question isn't, can Gavin Newsom be the front of America's resistance against Trump? It's, can Gavin Newsom be the face of the Democratic Party's resistance against Trump? And I think the answer to that one is yes.
Do you think, like, your average swing state voter is going to see some guy like Gavin Newsom and think, oh, gee, that's the fella for me?
I don't, because I've seen how he's governed in California. And as much as I agree with him on a lot of stuff, independents don't like him here. Independents and Republicans don't like him here. But do they like J.D. Vance? Not really. And J.D. Vance is his most likely opponent in 28. So Newsom, if he is a nominee, would absolutely have a good chance in winning against Vance in 28, because this is not like he's facing Ronald Reagan or something.
And he's definitely got quite a bit more charisma than Vance, who really has none and was just riding Trump's coattails. I think that all the love he's getting from conservatives right now, as they already are sort of beginning J.D. Vance's 2028 campaign for him, I think that that will all go away if a more Trump-esque MAGA type is also in the race, because I think that JD just doesn't have the sauce, and the sauce has been how they've been winning. So I think that even if DeSantis goes a little bit crazier, DeSantis would have a better shot at getting the Republican nomination, simply because Vance's greatest strength right now is his association with Trump. It's not like he has other qualities that these people like. I mean, he's married to a woman of color and has mixed race children. That is the opposite of what the fringe racist people who power so much of the Trump machine want to see. I mean, a marriage like JD and Usha, if it were not Donald Trump's vice president, the Trump fans would be tweeting out pictures of that. And some of them are, by the way, and saying like, this is the dark future of our country. So meanwhile, Newsom has got this like pretty white, blonde coated family that I think is more reflective of the Trump racist type values. But that, you know, obviously that's not going to win him the fringe far right voters. I'm just thinking, like, you were talking to me before we started recording about how Trump is a lot less popular on a lot of his more inflammatory actions than a lot of the Democrats who think he can just get away with anything at this point think he might be. I personally think that the reason a lot of people have sort of surrendered to this is because the Democrats in office seem to have surrendered to it, right? So part of why so many people on Twitter, so many people who are speaking on the news are saying Trump can do whatever he wants is because there is not a substantive pushback from Democrats in Congress. Do you think that if Democrats in Congress took a more combative approach against it, more people would believe that there's actually something that could be done?
Yes and no. I think that the Democratic Party's approach to Trump has been flawed in quite a few ways. I think the reason their base hates them so much is because of this, right? Because they don't really have the pulse of what their base wants. And that's why the Democratic base hates Trump. When it comes to swing voters, I also think Democrats have been a little bit behind in targeting Trump because Trump is most vulnerable on inflation, the economy, on tariffs. That's what he's most vulnerable on. He has suffered lasting damage from the tariffs that he has never really fully recovered from. Now, here's the problem with how the Democrats are approaching it. They're basically frantically flailing around trying to find some lane to attack him or trying to post a bunch on Twitter or whatever. And outside like Gavin Newsom, who's, by the way, only taking off not because he's posting on Twitter, but because he's drawing out 4 or 5 Republicans, which is actually really the reason he's taking off. Democrats haven't been able to find an angle against Trump despite it being right there. It is literally right there. Medicaid cuts are so unpopular. Medicare cuts are so unpopular. The tariffs are one of the most generationally unpopular economic policies that this country has seen since the 1930s. And yet, if you look right now at what the media looks like, at what's in the press, at what Democrats are saying, they're busy fighting amongst themselves on should we endorse Zohran Mamdani, which is, frankly, to me, preposterous because you have literally the tools you need to go and hit Trump. Talk about the Medicare cuts. Talk about the Medicaid cuts. Who is saying you can't do that? Why are you fighting over Zohran? Who's in power right now?
I also feel like they're going to be more vulnerable on tariffs as we get closer to midterms because the tariffs are something that have longer term effects.
It's a cumulative effect, yeah.
Something that's immediate. So already, so many of the tariff policies are extremely unpopular, and we haven't really seen the damage yet. We haven't seen small businesses around the country are suffering. Prices are going up on a lot of important goods, but we aren't really seeing the full impact on the economy in a way that we will already have a year from now when these midterm campaigns are really kind of picking up. So before we go, do you have just kind of overall 30,000 foot view on what this inflammatory Newsom bender means? Because it can't last forever. You know, I don't see a situation where in 3 months, the all caps Newsom Trump tweets are still something that's gaining so much attention and cultivating all this excitement. What do you think the effects of this really are, especially looking forward towards 26 and 28?
I think number one, Gavin Newsom's star has rocketed upwards. And if that referendum passes and California gets to draw out 4 or 5 Republicans, Newsom will be one of the front runners and one of the stars in the party for 28, because he's the only politician that has realized and correctly realized and done substantive things to address it, that the base wants a fight and the base wants someone to fight back against what they see as an authoritarian takeover of America. And Newsom is saying, well, I am beating Republicans. That is the best way to do it. And let me show you how I'm doing it. And by the way, this guy that you've been infuriated by, who's breaking all the rules, I'm going to break him right back. I'm going to break all the norms of communication and troll him at his own game. That's why Newsom's star is rising. Yes, he's probably going to stop the tweets soon, but his profile is created. Now, once the referendum, if the referendum passes, which I think it's got a better than average chance of doing, not a sure thing, but it has a better than average chance. I think the implications for 26 is that Democrats would neutralize a little bit of the Republican redistricting, still be able to take the House. I think Dems take the House by like 225 to like 210, which is not super high. And Newsom can say, I'm half the House majority right there. And then after that, I think he runs for president in 28 and is a big front runner among the Democratic Party because he actively tapped into the rage that the base is feeling over this presidency.
Pete Buttigieg, who can't give a clear answer on Israel-Palestine, get ready for a fight in 2028. Lakshya, thanks so much for coming on. We will be seeing you very soon. Everybody, leave a comment down below of how many House seats you want for the Democrats, because frankly, I want it to be all of them. I want it to be a completely blue House. I want every Republican in Congress to be out. So let us know what you think down below and send this video to everyone you've ever met. With Bulwark, we're Cam and Lakshya. Take care. See you all soon.